Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making a granny cake. Now this is a 9 by 13 cake, and with a name like granny cake, y'all know it's going to be good because ain't no granny ever made no bad cake. Real quick, I'm going to go over all the ingredients, and there's a lot of ingredients here, but they're all super simple ingredients. You probably have most of them in your kitchen already. We have a 1.5 cups of white sugar, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, a cup of crushed pineapple in juice, a cup of chopped pecans, a cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of regular sugar, a stick of butter, and a cup of evaporated milk. Now you can use whole milk if you want to. And of course we have some vanilla. And we're going to get started by mixing up the cake batter. This stuff here, and some vanilla, is the cake batter. This goes on top of the batter, and then this goes on top of the cake when it comes out of the oven. Few steps, but like I said, simple stuff. And you know, we've got sugar divided up here, so if you put it all in there, that don't count as multiple ingredients. But we're going to start by dumping our flour and our sugar, our first sugar, our 1.5 cups here, in our bowl, and we're going to mix those up together. Now go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And this is going to bake about 40 or 45 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean and it bounces and all that good stuff. All right, now I'm going to wait to put my salt and my baking soda in until the very end. Go ahead and beat your eggs up a little bit. Add them into your flour and sugar. Add in your pineapples. Add in about a teaspoon or so of vanilla, teaspoon or 2 or whatever you want. All that flour and sugar needs some flavor in it. And then we're going to stir this up. And when we get that pretty well combined, we're going to go ahead and add our salt and our baking soda. And you can mix this in the flour if you want to, but it gives it a little bit more leavening capability if you wait until the end to put it in. And that's something that I learned recently. Don't know exactly why it works that way, but it does. Make sure you get that all mixed in there good. We're going to go ahead and combine our pecans and our brown sugar. And it's a cup of each of those. And we're going to stir those together because those are going to be layered over top of our batter when we pour it in the pan. But we got to get enough of these bowls out of the way to get our pan over here. Now, you need a 9 by 13 pan. Now, you can spray this with nonstick spray or wipe a little butter in it. I've put a little butter in it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to dump our cake batter in there. And then we're going to top it with our pecans and our brown sugar. Make sure you got all the flour out of the bottom and stir that baking soda and salt in there real good. All right, pour your batter in your greased pan. And like I said, it's got a lot of ingredients, but it mixes up pretty easy. You don't need to get out beaters and all that stuff. Just a whisk or even a fork could work. Spread your batter out kind of even there if it don't run out. And then we are going to top it with our brown sugar and our pecans. And just kind of spread these out nice and even. If you don't like pecans, you could use walnuts, or if you don't have pecans, you could use walnuts. If you have a nut allergy, a lot of people have asked me what to do if they have a nut allergy. And what I have seen other people do is they crush up some pretzels because it kind of has that salty flavor and it gives you that little bit of crunch without the nuts. So I haven't tried that, but other folks are using it and it sounds like it would work to me to kind of give you the texture anyway. Now, we are going to put this in our preheated 350 degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes until it's done. While our cake is baking, we're going to make the glaze that goes on top of it. And that's 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of butter, and a cup of milk. Evaporated milk, whole milk, whatever you got. And we are going to bring that to a boil and then add a little vanilla to it. Now don't run off and leave this because it's got milk in it and you don't want it to burn. But just add your 3 ingredients to your pot, and like I said, bring it to a boil so that your sugar is good and melted in the milk and the butter. And then we're going to add the vanilla, and that's it. While we're melting our glaze here, I know that we are living in some fairly uncertain times. There's a lot of stuff going on all around the world. There's a lot of stuff going on here in our country. The whole country is fairly divided, and it's making a lot of people very uneasy, the inflation and stuff. I want to share 1 Corinthians 2:5 with you, and maybe it'll help. That your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. Don't let the events that are going on affect your faith. Don't worry about the outcome of elections and things like that. Certainly go vote, and it's up to each of you to vote your own heart and your own conscience. I'm not doing any endorsements here, but that is one of our rights in this country, and it's something that we definitely need to exercise. It's part of being an American, but don't get so upset or so worried about the results of that election that you lose your faith, because no matter what the outcome of that is, your faith should stand in the power of God. Your peace of mind, your security, your hope is not in the leaders of our nation or any nation on this earth. So just kind of keep that in mind, and it'll help maybe with the anxiety and the fear about what's going on. God is in control of all of it, and He always has been. Okay, in about 45 minutes, our cake will be done, and it'll look like this. It'll be nice and brown on top, and it won't sink in if you touch it. And of course, if you use a toothpick or something, it should come out clean. Toothpick or cake tester or whatever. And as soon as this is boiling, and it is, our sugar should be well melted, and our butter should be well melted, and everything should all be incorporated good together, so we won't have crystally sugar in this. Now we're going to have some in the brown sugar because we bake the brown sugar and the nuts on top, so it's going to be a little bit crystally, but this glaze should not be. A lot of folks poke holes in their cake, and you can, but you don't really have to, because this cake is extremely hot. I just took it out of the oven, and if you pour this on it while it's hot, it will soak into the cake, and it'll soak in super even, and instead of in, you know, like the little funnels that you make, and you can see the glaze sizzling around the edge when it touches the edge of the pan. So you want to do this while it's really, really hot. And you're going to let this cool before you cut it, because you want it to soak up all the glaze. You don't want to have the glaze still dripping on there. You want to give that cake time to soak it up before you cut it. And that's kind of all there is to it. I am going to tip it around just a tiny bit there, because I got a puddle of glaze in the center. And that's it. You let this cool, and you know it's got the glaze on it, so you don't frost it. You don't put any frosting or icing or anything like that on it, just that glaze. This is just absolutely delicious. It is super, super rich. You could top it with something else if you wanted to, but it's already so rich, you really don't need it. And this is a good one for kind of the, well, it's a good one for potlucks and stuff, but it's a good one for the get-togethers where you're having cake and coffee. Anytime you're doing a potluck, you could take this, or if you just want to get together and do cake and coffee, this is the kind of cake you have with cake and coffee. It would be a good breakfast cake with your coffee. You could do it at breakfast time. But give this a try. Like I said, it's called granny cake, and ain't no granny ever made no bad cake. But let it cool before you cut it. So we'll have lots of pictures, but I'm not going to scoop it. I don't want it messed up. And I want to thank you all so much for joining us here on the Hillbilly Kitchen. If you haven't already, please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Make sure there's no D on the end of it. If there's a D on the end of it, you've already subscribed. But if there's no D, click it. And share our videos with your friends. But most of all, until next time, remember to put God first.